Hello everyone, my name is Dylan and I'm from SteamFirst.com. Today I'll be interviewing one of the developers for the Solus Project.
My name is Shurtio. I'm also known as Hourences, and I am the mastermind basically behind the Solus Project. So I started the project and I did the art direction, the game design, the game direction, the whole thing there. I built a lot of the levels. I did almost all of the gameplay scripting and so forth. So I'm very large parts of that. I started in the industry in 2003 working for Epic Games and Guerrilla Games, and then I moved on working for Starbreeze and some other studios. So I've done some AAA game development in the past, and at some point I wanted to start my own studio. So in 2010 we started Teodor Studios in Sweden, and we made The Ball and Our Mechanical, and now we're doing the third game, which is the Solus Project.
Sounds extremely interesting, honestly. What inspired you to create this specific game?
I think it's the games from the 90s, basically. Like the first proper games I played were in the 90s, right? Like I was born in the 80s, so you grew up in the 90s. You played games back then, of course. And of course I had played Mario and such Nintendo games, but at some point I got my first PC, and that really, sorry, I have a very annoying cough. That really changed things for me. So for example, the first Unreal game, that really opened up my eyes. Also other games like Morrowinds was really inspirational. And also all of those kind of influences coupled to like series like Lost, which is more recent, and also like a lot of comic books. We have a lot of local comic books about children going on adventure in faraway places. Like they would actually go to some tropical island in the middle of nowhere and they would find a treasure, right? And I read a lot of those kind of things. And movies also, like Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, all of that. I picked up all of that, and I basically got a vision in my head, and I wanted to create that. And that's how the Solus Project came to be. And also actually one extra thing is I have a background in environment art and environment design, level design, those kind of things, making worlds basically. So being a world artist, of course, if I'm going to make a game, it's going to be a game that's very focused on an actual world. So it's an alien world, and that has the focus. The character doesn't even have a name.
So the character has no background?
No, the character doesn't really exist. It's
whoever
you want it to be.
So there's a huge, possibility for people to take it into like a role-playing kind of thing.
They could do that, indeed, yes.
Awesome. How many people are involved in the making of the Solus Project?
We started production in July 2013, so we're actually 2 years in exactly, a couple of days aside. And the team kind of went up and down. Sorry. So the team went up and down because over the years, like we're a very small company, we try to build it as we can. So sometimes you have friends coming in, for example, for a couple of months, right, just for fun or whatever, or for a small contract. You have some ex-colleagues coming in. So there's a lot of people coming and going, basically. Overall, I think over 25, 30 people have been involved, but majority of those people have been involved only for like a few months or a couple of models, small stuff. I think the actual group that's involved a lot is, 4 or 5 people, I would say. So it's quite a small team.
Wow, small team, huge goal.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the underdogs.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of a release date that you guys are aiming for?
We've announced Q1, so the first quarter of next year. We're probably aiming towards February, March.
Awesome.
We might do early access earlier though.
That's one of my questions. Are you guys planning to do any type of open and/or closed beta for the game?
We're looking into it. We haven't really decided yet. It's likely it will happen though at some point. Maybe it's just a few weeks before release, but it might happen at some point. Yeah.
If you guys are doing any type of closed beta, what would people have to do to be able to gain access to that?
We do have quite a need for that actually, but the problem is we don't really have a system set up right now for organizing that or for finding the people. The thing is you kind of have to trust the people, of course, if you do this kind of thing. And we haven't really figured out how we're going to handle that. The prime thing we're looking for, of course, as every developer is are serious people who will actually play through the whole thing, who will actually give feedback, right? Not just getting in just for the sake of playing a game and then moving on. Like we actually want people who are getting involved. That would be the big thing.
So dedication and, being there.
Yeah, because we take a certain risk in releasing the game early and all that. We don't really know those people either. You basically give away the thing you've been working on for 2 years to a stranger So we kind of want something in return, of course, for taking the risk. I mean, it has to pay off for us. We need to get feedback.
Awesome. What exactly can we expect from this game?
Well, there's a lot of survival games out there. And first of all, actually, that was never our intention. We started this 2 years ago. There weren't that many survival games out there back then. And we basically make the game we love. We want to do the game that we like, that we love, which happens to be survival, but we're basically going with that. And because of that background, it's a bit of a different kind of survival than those other games out there, right? So when you say survival, a lot of people I think will think it's a multiplayer maybe, or it's like a sandbox environment, that kind of stuff. Maybe there's zombies even, but we don't have any of that. So we have no enemies. It's absolutely only single player. It's not a sandbox either. It's a linear single player game. It actually comes quite close to a lot of traditional FPS games from the 90s, for example, and more modern ones as well, of course, where it's a linear experience. It has a start and it has an end, right? And there is some freedom in between those 2 points, but at the end of the day, it's a linear experience. You have to go through certain points. And that's, I think, a very important difference with other games. It's really about the world, and it's really a linear experience, basically.
That is actually really different from a lot of the things that are out there right now. I know I'm a huge survival game kind of nerd because I love games like Far Cry 3, Skyrim. A big fan of the Elder Scrolls series, like you mentioned earlier, Morrowind and Oblivion. And this actually does really intrigue me as a survival game genre nerd. So I'm really kind of excited for this.
That's cool.
One of my final questions is, will you plan on making any more games like this in the future?
We're really not certain yet. We're right now, since we're such a small team, we really focus all of our attention on this current game, right? And then depending on how this works out, we might do a fourth game. We're absolutely not certain yet. Of course, if this sells well, if people like it, you know, that it collects a community, then we will likely do the second Solus Project, which I already have a vision for in my head, so I'd love to do it. It's just, you know, it's a really big investment. It takes 2.5 years of your life, and it basically takes 7 days a week of work, right? So you don't do this very lightly, but I have a vision in my head yet, which is quite unique again.
Awesome, sounds interesting. I believe this will be my second to last question. Do you plan on doing any multiplayer for any game soon, like the Solus Project?
We have an idea to kind of allow people, kind of like a multiverse. Everyone plays their own single player game, but you can share stuff back and forth with your friends, right? It's not 100% certain yet, so we might do that. It depends kind of on the time, if we have the time for it. But if we do anything, that's going to be it, and that's where it's going to stay as well. So we're never going to do actual multiplayer, no.
That definitely does sound different. So
Yes.
that'll be cool. And then I think my last question is for you. Basically, it's a question for you to answer to everyone out there. How big do you hope for this community to be?
Well, I think, of course, if you make a game, you hope that it becomes really big, right? You hope for success, of course. But more realistically, if you get a nice niche community going, I think that would be very nice already, right? You don't necessarily need a huge community with like tens and tens of thousands of people in there. If you get like 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 core players in there who are very active and who love the game and kind of sustain a community, that's, of course, you know, that's already very nice. So anything goes, really, basically. We just hope people will enjoy it, and we hope that they will recognize the passion that went into it and the love we basically invested into this.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to let me do this interview.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the interview.
All right. My name has been SuperPickle/Dylan from SteamFirst.com, and this has been one of the main developers from the Solus Project. I hope you guys all have a great day.